ICR, Iona College Radio.
All right, folks. Welcome back for our third and final segment, not only of the day, but for the semester of The Rock is On. And in this last segment, I'm going to give my Super Bowl prediction, late Super Bowl prediction based on the standings now. But before I get into that, I just want to say, I just want to talk about one thing. And that's my favorite football team, the New York Jets. Now, I know this season has just been an absolute train wreck. We're currently 3-8, last in the AFC East, third worst team in the AFC, currently in the fifth spot in terms of draft order for 2017. Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't lived up to the hype, hasn't had a great season like he did last year. We were decimated with injuries. The Eric Decker injury hurt us and was a huge detrimental to us offensively. Brandon Marshall hasn't been the same due to the Decker injury, because last year Decker was the go-to guy for Fitzpatrick, and Marshall was getting the one-on-ones, and he was winning them, majority of them. But he's not having a great year. Offensive line has been banged up. Our longtime Jet, Nick Mangold, has missed the last few games. He's getting old. Our secondary is depleted. It's getting burned week after week. And then we hear multiple reports that Darrelle Revis' agent said he doesn't want to play football anymore and that he's done after this year. So that means that's the end of Darrelle Revis. He was a great player. I liked him growing up as a Jet fan. I liked him. I thought his ACL injury back in 2012, or when he sustained a torn ACL back in 2012, I thought he wasn't going to be the same player anymore. But you saw with that 1 year in Tampa and the 1 year in New England, he wasn't, but he was somewhat decent. And it pained me to see him win a Super Bowl with the hated rival Patriots, with the New England Patriots, the Jets' most hated rival, and probably the most hated team in the NFL. No denying that. But Revis is, we saw early in the year, or after, I'd say week 3, week 4, when we saw him, at first we thought, oh, you know what, it was just blown coverage. He wasn't really supposed to guard the wide receiver. He didn't burn him, but then as the weeks progressed, we saw that Revis didn't really have it anymore, didn't have the same ability, didn't have the same agility, didn't have the same quickness, the whole 9 yards. He was done. And the opposing wide receivers, when they saw they were going to go up against him, they were going to have a field day. This wasn't the Darrelle Revis of 2009 or 2010 or even 2011 Darrelle Revis, where you put him on the opposing team's best wide receiver, he was going to take him out of the game, and they weren't going to be a factor. And like I said, it has been a frustrating season. This will be the 6th consecutive season. Let's see, 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep. 6th consecutive season, had a double check on that the Jets would not make the postseason and will be watching the NFL playoffs from their couches. And it's just this whole, in terms of who's going to be the quarterback next year, that's a big enigma. You probably have a better chance of finding Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster than trying to figure out if Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg is going to be the guy next year, or if they're going to be any good. But there's a lot of holes on this Jet team. There's a lot of aging players that they have to cut and get rid of, and they're going to have to build through the draft, because I don't know who they're going to bring via free agency, but that's the only key. That's what they have to look forward to now at this point, is the draft. Hopefully they can pick the right players and all the players pan out, because Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles really need to hit a home run in this draft if they want to keep their jobs and hopefully make the Jets be a playoff team next year. And I know Jet fans, I know there's a lot of Jet fans who are way older than me, who've seen it all. I've experienced my fair share of heartbreaking moments with the Jets, But there's people a lot older than me that have just been through it all. Like Joe Beningo of WFAN, who's been a Jet fan since the early 60s, and they were known as the Titans. He's been through it all. There's a lot of people who've seen all the heartbreaking moments from the Jets, whether it was the A.J. Dewey game in 1982 against the Dolphins, and they lost 14-0. Dolphins went to the Super Bowl. Having a 10-point lead against the Browns in the 1986 divisional playoffs, and the Jets had a 10-point lead with 4 minutes to go. They blew it. The fake spike game with Marino, the Rich Kotite days where he only won 3 games in 2 seasons. They were 3-13, and then 3-13 in 1995, then 1-15 in 1996. Or if it was Doug Bryan missing the 2 kicks in Pittsburgh that could have won the Jets the game, and they could have been in the AFC title game, and they would have played New England that year had they won. Or just losing the back-to-back AFC title games during the beginning era of Rex Ryan, and then just after losing the second one to Pittsburgh, which I was really pissed about. It bothered me. I still hate the Steelers to this day because of that game. Because I felt like that was the year the Jets were supposed to win. They beat Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. They beat Tom Brady in New England. 6 weeks coming off a defeat in which the Patriots annihilated and just flat out embarrassed the Jets. It was like 42-3, and it was a Monday night game. I remember that. And they had the momentum, and they just couldn't get it done. But then after losing back-to-back AFC title games, the Rex Ryan teams sucked after that. They were 8-8, 6-10, 8-8, and then 4-12. And then last year, obviously, losing to Buffalo in Week 17, had to just win that game, and they would have been in the playoffs. It was a win-in-your-in scenario, couldn't get it done, and now they're looking at being a top 5 pick as of now. And I'm just going to say this, though. Yes, we want to win. As Jet fans, we're determined. We're not determined. We're hungry. We're desperate. We want a winner. We want a franchise quarterback. I get it. But you know what? As a crazy, optimistic Jet fan that I am, I'm sure that day that will happen. Sure as God made mac and cheese, someday the New York Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. And I just hope it's sooner rather than later. Really hope so. And now I got that off my chest, I'm going to go with my Super Bowl predictions as of now. My Super Bowl prediction at the beginning of the year was Cardinals-Chiefs. Cardinals were winning it, but the Cardinals are just in complete disarray. It's not their year. Turning the ball over too much offensively. They're not the same team like they were last year. And the Chiefs, they're a good team. They have playoff caliber. They're a playoff caliber team. But with that being said, I'm going to go with starting in the NFC. Looking at it, there's a lot of teams. All these, regardless of who it is, I think any of these 6 teams can make the playoffs. Or any of the current 6 teams that are in the playoffs now, or in the current playoff seedings right as of now, they can make a run. Giants have been there before. Redskins, they have a potent offense. Falcons have a potent offense. Lions are like that under-radar team. They're the sleeper pick. Seattle's been there before. And then, of course, Dallas, because they're the best team in the NFL, not only in the NFC, but the NFL. But with that being said, I think I'm going to go with, thinking about it, probably, you know what? Oh, who cares? I gave it a lot of thought, and it was between the Cowboys and this team. And I'm going to say, I really think this team is going to surprise a lot of people, and that's the Detroit Lions. They just seem like they have that chip on their shoulder. They have that blue collar mentality, and like I said, they seem like one of those teams, under the radar teams that just poised to make a run. Now their only Achilles heel is they have no running game. If they can establish a running game in this final quarter of the season, going into the playoffs, they could be a pretty good team. And defensively, they're pretty swell as well. So I'm gonna go with the Lions. I was gonna pick the Cowboys, but I was like, let's see how they play in the first playoff game. And we can all agree that Seattle is the team to watch out for in the NFC because they've been there before and they have a great team all around the Legion of Boom. Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. Now in the AFC, there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that I think could make it. But you could say New England, but Gronkowski's going to be out for the next 2 months with a back injury, and he's probably likely done for the season. Again. And the Patriots as a whole, they're banged up with injuries. And, basically Tom Brady's the only Patriot that's healthy because he missed the first quarter of the season. Then you have the Broncos. They have no quarterback. They have a tenacious defense. And then you have the Raiders, the young emerging Raiders. And also the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a great defense. Never over till it's over. And just know how to win ball games. I'm not a firm believer in either the Ravens or the Steelers or even the Houston Texans, because even if those teams make the playoffs, they probably wouldn't get past the first round anyway. So we'll cut those out. We'll cut that out. We'll cut those two teams out. But in the AFC, I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs, and here's why. I'm a firm believer in defense wins championships. Now you ask me, why don't you just pick the Broncos? They have a great defense. Yeah, I think the Broncos do have a great defense, but they can only do so much. You don't know if Trevor Siemian could be that guy that can lead you to the Super Bowl. I mean, granted, Peyton Manning wasn't as good last year, but still, he did what he had to do. He made the plays when you needed him to make it the most. When you needed him to make it. And I don't know if Siemian can do that. I think, in regard to the Raiders, they're having a phenomenal year. I don't want to discredit any, disparage or anything like that from them, but I want to see how they're like. In a way, they're kind of like the Cowboys. I want to see how they do come playoff time when the magnitude of the games reach an all-time high and the wins count the most, and that there's a lot more pressure involved come playoff time. And plus, with the Chiefs, I just think they're pretty well-rounded. Great defense, forced turnovers, solid running game with Spencer Ware. Alex Smith, not a gunslinger, doesn't really throw the ball down the field as much, but he can win. He knows where to go with the ball, throws the ball well. And then you have two great playmakers offensively for the Chiefs, and tight end Travis Kelce and wide receiver Jeremy Maclin. Now, let me ask you something. I know you can say Rob Gronkowski is the best tight end in the game, and then if you want to throw in Jordan Reed, the combination of Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis for the Redskins, okay. But in terms of who can put up the most stats and who's more productive, because in all fairness, we'll put Gronk as one, right? But in terms of fairness, who do you think is a better tight end and has a better team all around? Kelce? Or who can make their team better all around? Kelce or Jordan Reed? Now, Jordan Reed's a great player, though, but you got to also remember, the Redskins have other playmakers at wide receiver, and Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, Jamison Crowder. So they're loaded offensively. He's not the main guy. Travis Kelce is the anchor to this offense. The team goes as much as the team can go as far as Kelce can take. And that's why I think I'm going to go, and that's why I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs, because they have a great team, well-rounded team, great offense, great defense, and I'm gonna pick them to win the Super Bowl. And I know it's a little shocking because a lot of people at this point are going to say, New England, the New England Patriots, the Raiders, those are the two best teams in the AFC. I know, but I feel like I'm going to roll the dice and be a little on the crazy side, if you will. So there you have it. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl, and the Kansas City Chiefs will win it. All right, but with that being said, that concludes our segment of The Rock is On. Hope everyone has a great Christmas break, great New Year's, and the next time you'll see me, or next time next time you'll see or hear from me is will be in 2017. So Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Pray for great health, great family support all year round, and good luck to everyone on their finals these upcoming weeks, 2 weeks.